If we ignore that dogleg in the road and fly in a straight line until we hit the Thames, we find ourselves much further upriver from the city and right over the top of the grounds of Lambeth Palace, the London home of the Archbishops of Canterbury since the 13th century. So we begin our investigation on Lambeth Pier, right in the middle of the Thames.
Here they are!
Oh, so glad you were able to come.
It's a brilliant view, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
You get a move on, Tony.
Yeah, sorry. I never realised that Lambeth Palace and the Houses of Parliament were so close. And that's MI5, isn't it? That's a cosy little triangle. Nice to know we're all so well looked after.
Yeah.
So is this where we reckon they'd have crossed?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is fairly convincing. We've seen it from the air and it looks really good from there. But if you look on the map, we've got this road map here. I think it's fairly clear the alignment of the Roman road from Canterbury. If you project it from the Old Kent Road, it's heading straight for Lambeth.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the river, the Watling Street, the A5, which is the Roman road up to the Midlands, also heads for Lambeth.
But the crucial thing also, Mick, is that the road was known as Watling Street here and Watling Street there, implying originally one road straight the way through.
The implication here is that there was some sort of ford or bridge or something like that.
So we're going to be able to do something in the gardens of Lambeth Palace?
Well, I reckon that's the place we should start looking.
Well,
Because,
think
that's
that's
the nearest piece of open ground round here, isn't it?
And everybody's quite happy for us to go and dig up the Archbishop's garden, are
I
they?
think the Archbishop's quite happy, which is the important thing.
And more importantly, he's away for the weekend.
I've come across this paper by a chap called Bernard Davis in 1935, and he put in some trenches in the garden over there, and he reckons he found a road going through this point.
It would be nice if we could find those trenches again, actually, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
It's very lucky to hit the road just putting them in a random like that. So.
Come on,
That's
let's
a good start.
First thing is that 2,000 years ago, the Thames looked very different. The Lambeth bank was a maze of marshy bogs, which as a North Londoner confirms all my prejudices. The Romans, having marched through all this, made their crossing at a point somewhere along the bank on the right. If we can locate the first road, the crossing point, and the settlement connected with it, we might be able to say where London began. Was it down at the city or up at Lambeth? There are some good reasons for exploring the palace gardens first. This land has been owned by the Archbishop of Canterbury since 1170. So it's been largely undisturbed for 900 years. In the last few years, Roman pottery has been found in the grounds, and coupled with the Davises' trenches, there's enough evidence to suggest the road could have gone through here. Also, the palace grounds once stood hard up against the river, so perhaps the actual crossing point might be somewhere beneath this vast lawn. Anyway, here's where we start, by doing a geophysical survey. But we're also going to try something completely different. For the Romans to have put a road through marshes, they'd have needed high, dry land to build on. We're going to try and find that ancient dry land. In the incident room, Carenza meets Jane Siddell, a Museum of London archaeologist who's got lots of data on the ancient geology from boreholes that have been sunk in this area.
These are the spots which have been generally done by engineering companies, clustered mainly here near the station and then further to the bottom end of the park at these locations marked on the map.
But there's still quite a gap in the middle of
yes.
the palace, and so if we could get some useful calls out of that, that would tell us whether this area is higher or lower than the surrounding area, whether it actually would have been suitable for putting a road on.
Yes, that's right.
So we'll sink our own boreholes in the neighbouring park and gardens, combine that with their data, and in the computer produce a 3D picture of what Lambeth would have looked like to the Romans. If there's any obvious high land, that's where they'd have built the road. Though there's no sign of the road in the trench yet, Robin's found something he thinks might be important from the earliest records of London.
This is the earliest detailed map of London that we've got of 1562. And this shows two sets of stairs near Lambeth Palace here. One where the horse ferry left from, but here Stangate stairs crossing directly to Westminster. Stangate is a very old name.
When you say very old, it's Saxon?
Well, yes. I mean, it almost certainly means stone gate. although the significance of the gate is a bit difficult to determine now. But if we go into the 13th century archiepiscopal, lovely word, the Archbishop's Register, the Archiepiscopal Register, we know that there was an ancient way to this particular crossing point.
That's interesting.
So, a Saxon name for a set of steps down to the river, and an ancient road that led up to it. Is this our crossing point? And if so, where is it now? At our Roman road, they're putting down the final surface, the metalling.
Phil,
Back at the trench,
come and look at
Stuart
this.
has a revelation.
think you'll like this.
What you got there then?
Well, I think you're digging garden features. That
Yeah?
these gravel terraces that you've got down here are actually formal garden terraces.
But what's the age of this?
This is 1746, this map, showing all the gardens around the palace. This stream's coming in from outside the palace gardens, coming in through here, and it's been canalised into a formal water channel. I think when Davis was digging here, what he was doing was digging these garden terraces and this water channel. It's not. I don't think it's a Roman road. I think the layout's too good.
So what was it Davis saw in his trench? Was it a layer of natural gravel? Or could it have been an 18th century garden path?
Probably what it is.